Love is not about finding someone perfect, it's about finding someone who makes you better. True success is measured not by power but by the ability to open your heart, be humble, and let others in. Ethan Cole's office was silent except for the ticking of the clock and the sound of his pen against the desk. His employees knew that silence meant trouble. "This report," Ethan said, holding up a stack of papers, "is late and I don't tolerate late." His sharp gaze swept across the boardroom. No one dared to speak. Ethan was a man who ran his company with precision, discipline, and a reputation for being unshakable. To the outside world, Ethan was everything a CEO should be: brilliant, wealthy, and untouchable. But to those who knew him well, he was also cold, distant, and far too serious for a man his age. After another long day of back-to-back meetings, Ethan drove home to the mansion where his grandmother, Grace, still lived. Grace was the one person who could pierce through Ethan's icy exterior. She greeted him at the door with a warm smile. "Long day?" she asked. "The usual," Ethan replied, loosening his tie. "People not meeting expectations." Grace shook her head with a soft chuckle. "Ethan, not everyone can live up to your impossible standards." Ethan smirked. "If I lower my standards, the company fails." Later that evening, Grace visited her favorite flower shop in town, a cozy little place filled with the scent of fresh roses and daisies. There she met Lily, a young woman arranging bouquets with gentle care. Lily's kindness was almost tangible. She smiled warmly at every customer and chatted with Grace as if they had known each other for years. Grace was immediately drawn to her. "You have such a lovely heart," Grace said as Lily handed her a bouquet. "Thank you," Lily replied softly. "Flowers remind me that even after storms, beauty grows again." Driving back home, Grace couldn't shake the thought. Ethan needed someone like Lily, someone who could remind him that life was more than boardrooms and deadlines. That night, as she sat by the fireplace, Grace smiled to herself. Perhaps fate had just handed her the perfect plan. The next morning, Grace was already scheming. She knew her grandson well. If she told him directly to meet Lily, he would refuse just to prove he was too busy. So instead, she placed a call to Lily's flower shop. "Could you deliver a bouquet to my grandson's office?" Grace asked sweetly. "Something bright and cheerful. He needs it more than he knows." Later that afternoon, Ethan sat at his desk, buried in contracts, when the door opened. Lily stepped inside, holding a stunning arrangement of lilies and sunflowers. The room seemed to brighten instantly. "Delivery for Mr. Cole," she said with a polite smile. Ethan barely glanced up. "Leave it on the desk," he said curtly, not even slowing his pen. Lily tilted her head, unfazed by his cold tone. "These flowers deserve a little attention, don't you think?" That caught Ethan off guard. No one, especially not strangers, spoke to him like that. He finally looked up. Lily stood there, calm but confident, her eyes warm but not intimidated. "Who sent them?" Ethan asked. "Your grandmother," Lily replied. "She said you needed a reminder that even busy CEOs should stop to enjoy life's simple things." Ethan almost smiled. "Almost. She would say something like that," he muttered. Lily placed the bouquet on his desk. "She's right, you know," she said softly. Life isn't just about work. It's about the moments you don't plan. Before Ethan could respond, she turned and left, leaving behind the faint scent of lilies and a strange feeling he couldn't quite explain. That evening, over dinner, Grace asked casually, "So, did you get my flowers?" Ethan gave her a long look. "Yes." And the delivery girl was different. Grace hid her satisfied smile behind her teacup. Step one of her plan had worked perfectly. 2 days later, Ethan found himself standing outside the same flower shop where his grandmother had met Lily. He told himself it was just coincidence he happened to be nearby for a business meeting, and Grace had mentioned she wanted fresh flowers. But deep down, he knew he was curious. The little bell above the shop door jingled as he stepped inside. The air was filled with the sweet scent of roses and fresh greenery. Lily was at the counter, her hands busy tying a ribbon around a bouquet. She looked up, surprised but smiling. "Mr. Cole," she said, recognizing him immediately. "Here for more flowers?" Ethan hesitated before nodding. "My grandmother asked me to pick some up." Lily's eyes twinkled. "And what about you? Do you like flowers?" Ethan almost laughed. "I've never thought about it." "Then maybe today's the day you start," Lily replied with a soft grin, pulling together a simple but elegant arrangement. "These are for peace of mind, something I suspect you could use." Ethan raised a brow, caught off guard again. Most people were too nervous to speak to him so casually. But Lily didn't seem impressed by his suit, his expensive watch, or his serious expression. She treated him like any other customer. When she handed him the bouquet, her fingers brushed his, and for a moment, Ethan felt something stir, something he hadn't felt in a long time. As he left the shop, Ethan caught his reflection in the glass window. For the first time in years, he realized he was smiling. Back at home, Grace noticed the shift immediately. "I see you got the flowers," she said knowingly. Ethan placed them on the table and shook his head. "That girl, she's different." Grace's eyes sparkled with quiet triumph. "Different is exactly what you need, Ethan." Ethan didn't reply, but a part of him knew his grandmother might be right. The following weekend, Grace hosted a small dinner at the mansion. Ethan suspected she had invited Lily but didn't protest. When Lily arrived, she greeted Grace warmly and handed her a bouquet of fresh white roses. Throughout dinner, Lily spoke with her usual kindness and sincerity, asking Ethan questions that no one had ever dared to. "What do you do when you're not working?" she asked, smiling gently. Ethan hesitated, realizing he didn't have an answer. "I work," he admitted. Lily's eyes softened with understanding. "You must have dreams outside of board meetings and contracts." Grace leaned in with a knowing look. "Ethan, your parents wanted you to be strong, yes, but they also wanted you to be happy. Don't mistake control for living." Those words landed heavily on Ethan's heart. For years, he had buried himself in work to avoid pain, to avoid vulnerability. But sitting across from Lily, who was humble yet full of life, he felt a flicker of something he hadn't allowed himself to feel in years: hope. After dinner, Ethan walked Lily to her car. The night air was cool, and the stars were just beginning to appear. "You have a way of challenging me," he admitted. Lily smiled softly. "Maybe it's because I see the part of you that wants to slow down." You just need someone to remind you it's okay to live. For a moment, Ethan was quiet. Then, almost unexpectedly, he said, "Would you like to have dinner again? Just the two of us." Lily's smile widened. "I'd like that." As she drove away, Grace appeared on the porch, smiling knowingly. "Your parents would be proud," she said softly. Ethan looked at the bouquet still sitting on the table inside. For the first time, he realized they weren't just flowers, they were a symbol of everything he'd been missing. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to subscribe for more motivational videos.